which, as discussed, contributes to higher quality products and prevents monetary loss due to turnover. Moreover, evidence suggests a positive relationship between financial performance and organizations that encourage and support continuous knowledge acquisition and dissemination. Because organizations have to stay current in technology, business practices, and in advances in their industry. An organization that embraces career development process can keep employees informed of advancement and maintain their competitive edge in the market. So the importance of career development also leads to develop and create a pool of talented people to successfully execute the business strategies of the organization. So it is a collective effort, and how to utilize the talented people to successfully execute is one criteria. And devise and implement a talent management system in the organization, and to facilitate succession planning and development to ensure long-term growth and success of the organization. So these are all some key factors which helps to develop the strategy and plan accordingly for the long-term growth and success of the organization. For more than 2 decades, research has shown us uniquely that greater employee engagement leads to increased productivity, and we even know that boost employee engagement, employees' relationship with their managers, job clarity, sufficient resources, and a supportive work environment. So why is it that engagement scores never quite seem to reach the height that we expect, and why is that despite all the initiatives in place, there is gap in expectations between employees and the organization? Research on career management and experience in working with hundreds of organizations highlights 2 reasons. Organizations are not clearly on why career development is important in terms of increasing the degree of connection, commitment, and engagement of employees with their organizations, and many organizational career development practices are haphazard, sporadic, and focused more on individual performance and learning than on career development. The rapid rise of uncertainty in the labor market has left people struggling to understand their employment security and how to make sure or sense of their career into the future. And career development programs had a sense of identity. Despite apparent benefit of career development programs for increasing employees' sense of certainty and engagement, many organizations' talent management or people development strategies focus exclusively or mostly on matching employees' skills to the needs or tasks of the organization. A people strategy that combines this approach with structured career development practices will better position organizations to win the hearts, minds, and discretionary efforts of their employees in addition to their skills and capabilities. So this can be explained. Work is an important part of a person's identity, and we often describe ourselves as an engineer, a nurse, or a manager. This is called occupational identification and is particularly salient for those in clearly defined professions. An equally important sense of identity comes from our organizational identification, that is, the sense of belonging to a given organization. When we feel part of something greater than ourselves, we increase our cooperation, effort, participation, and organizationally beneficial decision making. Similarly, our intrinsic motivation, task performance, information sharing, and commitment increases. So identity is important, as though our identification we drive a sense of meaning from our work. This includes meaningfulness at work derived from identifying with a collective, and meaningfulness in work derived from a connection with the work itself and individuals that connect with their work as well as their organization derive the greatest sense of meaning, and therefore productivity and commitment excels. So, career development helps to create this connection, designing a career development program. The first step is to explicitly state the organization's perspective on careers, which can be represented along a continuum. On the one side, the organization is in charge of a person's career development, common among very large or old organizations. These perspectives result in policies and practices that attempt to bind the individual to the organization through developmental experiences. Second means golden handcuffs and a strong sense of identity with the organization. In one multinational company, the talent pool is reviewed by the senior executives once in a year in London, and decisions are made about where each person should be posted for the next few years across their global operations. The individual has no say in the process. The other end of the continuum is where career is wholly the individual's responsibility. The organization takes a more hands-off approach, leaving development and direction up to the individual. This approach dominated the early 2000s with the popularization of concepts such as 4 hours a week by Tim Ferriss and Free Agents by Daniel Pink. More contemporary approaches assume a degree of shared responsibility for careers between organization and employees. Nonetheless, there are still differences between organizations in terms of how much ownership they assume and the degree of support they provide to employees. Clarifying the organization's perspective on career is critical as it determines which practice or practices and policies are put into place. The organization's philosophy, what we call as perspective on career, drives the policies and practices that are then implemented. If an organization's perspective is genuinely that proper matter, then the career development initiatives will be extensive to reflect this view. However, there is no one off-the-shelf product for career development. It depends on the organization's strategic direction, perspective on careers, value base, and maturity of talent management practices. Career development programs should be tailored or cut short according or customized. Career development programs, as with employee development programs, must be nuanced and tailored to individual needs and stages of a career. Eni Beremsky and their colleagues research and careers found that people have different conceptions of work. Some saw work as a job, as a means of to an end, were comfortable putting a hard way work than going home. Others saw work as a career, who held a deep personal investment in their work and deriving a sense of achievement both objectively, that is through material rewards and promotion, as well as subjectively through a sense of esteem and meaning. The third category are those who see work as a calling whereby work and life are inseparable. Work is done solely for the fulfillment it brings to the person, not for other rewards. This research highlights why development practices are sometimes not well received by employees. For some people, learning something at a course just is not motivating. Career development initiatives needs to be sufficiently nuanced to appeal to those from all these three perspectives. It needs to be flexible so that employees can choose the degree to which they want to be involved in career development while still meeting the minimum growth and development that the organization requires from its staff to remain nimble and adaptable to the changing market conditions. Uncertainty and its relevance to career development. As the world of work continues to change at a rapid rate, it is clear that we will not return to the zenith of employment security reached in the mid-21st century. In fact, I argue that many people still underestimate the degree of uncertainty that constitutes a modern career, and that the ability to thrive in this uncertainty will define success. in the next century for both organization and their employees. Take for example the automation of work. Rapid advances in artificial intelligence, robotics and connectivity is radically altering how work is performed. Mining automation is a great example where trucks are being remotely controlled from thousands of kilometers away in the comfort of an air-conditioned office, substantially altering the role of the truck operator. Australia's Future Workforce Report produced by CEDA published research showing that 13 to 40% of jobs will be automated in the coming decade. This poses a challenge to the individuals whose roles are automated and to organizations in terms of reskilling employees from one job to another to ensure that their organizational knowledge and commitment is retained. These trends mean that individuals can no longer expect clearly identifiable career paths mapped out by their organization, adding to the sense of uncertainty in their careers. The downsizing and delaying strategies of the 1980s have continued, and the 2010 decade saw a significant number of multinational companies collapse. These events have contributed to an increasing volatile and uncertain labor market, further undermining individuals' sense of employment stability and leaving employees confused about how they can build a successful and satisfying career within their organizations. In turn, we see an increase in people jumping from job to job, or worse, staying in a job and being disillusioned, the working wounded. In such an environment, it would seem that organizations who help their employees to resolve this uncertainty and to see a future for themselves within the organization will create and retain a more engaged workforce. In this way, we argue that career development programs should be a key part of any talent or people development strategy. In the uncertain world in which we work now, individuals are looking for a sense of direction in their career and an understanding of what a successful career is to them. This is an important part of employee engagement. Career development programs must help employees build a sustainable, future-proof and adaptable approach to the management of their career. Career development programs must help employees build a sustainable, future-proof and adaptable approach to the management of their careers. Career development is a link between an individual's drive and motivation and the organization talent management strategy. An engaged workforce with a pipeline of talented leaders requires a career development strategy.